Weather Warriors, welcome to the second Ultimate Winter Forecast of 2020, part of your Ultimate Winter Forecast series. And in this episode, we're talking about snowfall. I'm about to unveil what this map means here in a second. We're going to give you your snowfall amounts for your city. I'm also going to go over temperatures, precipitation for the winter, storm tracks. And in the second half of the video, I'm going to go over the analysis. We're going to take a deep dive. Subscribe if you like videos like this. We're going to be releasing more of these. And we're also going to be releasing daily forecasts and stuff like that. So let's get right into this thing. We also have a contest coming up here in a minute or two, so be on the lookout for that with a prize. So this is the temperature outlook. The first half, I'm going to show you my maps. In the second half, I'm going to show you the reasoning behind the maps. Right now, it still looks like this area is going to be below average. The light blue is going to be about 2 degrees below average, so about slightly below average. The dark blue in this area is going to be moderately below average, with temperatures around 4 degrees below average throughout the winter. Again, sometimes it's going to be colder, sometimes it's going to be warmer. It's just a 3-month period here of December through February. The middle is going to be about average. There's going to be some areas in here, in these ranges, that pick up above and below average, but this area in the colored area is essentially an average for the entire area. So you got to keep that in mind as you're watching these forecasts. Now, this area out west, I'm thinking above average temperatures with moderately above average, maybe 4 degrees out here in California. This is due to a neutral winter coming, and we'll go over that in a second. Precipitation outlook, December through February, below average out here in the southwestern United States, particularly as you get towards California. Now, this area on the next winter outlook might be updated, and so stay tuned for that. We'll have some updates on that. It's looking like maybe more precipitation for that area. And then out here, it's going to be generally above average with moderately above average as you head towards the mid-Atlantic region. Now, these are in percentages. So the yellow is 25% below average. The orange is 50% below average. The green is 25% above. The dark green is 50% above. So you take your average precipitation for December through February, and then you add 50% onto it, and that's your total. So in between, it's going to be about average. So that's what the precipitation is looking like. Now, how about the snowfall? Because the snowfall is different. We factor in temperatures in with the snowfall. This is not yet the forecasted snow amounts, but this is what typically occurs from December through February. Well, actually, it'd be more annual, but we're going to focus on December through February since that's winter. But most of the snow does fall in the winter. This is the average annual snowfall for the United States here. Okay, so in this light area, we're going to start down here. That's about 0.1 to 3 inches of snow. Now, this is an average, so many years these areas don't get snow, but some years maybe they get 6 inches, so it kind of averages out into that range. As you head towards, we'll go a little bit farther north in this bluer area, you're getting 12 to 24 inches. And then that red area up there, 36 to 48 inches or so. And then obviously the mountainous regions in the far interior northeastern United States, especially near the lakes, you're dealing with 70 to 100 plus inches of snow in that area on average each winter. How's that compare to this winter? That's what we're going to talk about here. Now, I am overlaying these lines right here. These lines are essentially representing the percentages above and below average, and we'll teach you how to calculate these in a second here. So this first orange line here is 50% below average snowfall in this region. So wherever you do get snow in here, you subtract 50% of your total, and that should be your city's snowfall. Now, I'll show you a couple sites where you can get your city's snowfall here in a second. I can't do them all on this channel because there's millions of cities throughout the world, and so we're just going to keep it simple here. 50% below average right there in the southwestern United States. As you head a little bit farther west, not as much below average, but 25% below average in this region right here. And then as you head even further east, 25% above average in this line right here. That's going to extend kind of down the northern U.S. out into the southeastern United States, where I think clippers could dominate, and also some storm systems that track up to the northeast. Then we could head even further east And 50% above average snowfall looks to be in this region here, particularly in the interior Northeast, mid-Atlantic, maybe scooching as far west as the Ohio Valley. So you take your average snowfall for the winter, particularly December through February, and you add 50% to that. So you can imagine maybe this area up here, this area up here gets 100 inches. Yet 50% could be 150 inches in some of those areas, particularly near the lakes. Most areas don't get that much snow, so it's, these areas, about 24 to 36, maybe 40 to 50 in there. So you're taking maybe 10, 20 inches above average or so, something like that. So that's the current snow outlook. Now we're going to go region by region here in a second and give you a more detailed view. Now, this is kind of what it looks like without all that. And this is where our above average snow is, slightly above average right there, and then moderately above average on this region. The winter jackpot zone is probably going to be kind of right around here, where I think you're going to get a jet stream that kind of dives down quite a bit this winter and kind of tracks up, and then also some more storm systems that track up there. You're going to get clippers out in this region, and you're also going to get potentially some blizzards out there too. So really cold air, lots of precipitation. That's probably where your bullseye this winter is going to be. Below average out to the west. How do you do this thing? Well, search for your city's name, followed by average snow in Google, or go to bestplaces.net/climate. You can also go to the National Weather Service, but they're kind of inconsistent with their data. Some stations have it, some don't. But you can go there, and then you can find your snowfall amount there. And essentially, you add or subtract your average snowfall, times it by that percentage on the map that I put out, and then you add that to your average snowfall. So an example is 54 inches for Salt Lake City is their average snowfall. And they're in the, we'll just say negative 0.33. It's actually negative 0.25. So you times it by negative 2.5 and you get negative 17.82 inches. So that's 17.82 inches below average. You subtract that from 54 and you get 36.8 inches. So that's about their average. Now, again, these areas are going to vary. These are essentially calculating averages kind of for this whole area. Some areas could get above average here, but most areas will end up 25% below average. So keep that in mind. Again, these are very long-range forecasts, so we have to play these conservative and a little bit more broad. So that's what it's looking like. Now, a couple of changes. I did go down just a little bit on these percentages. They were a little bit high in my opinion. It was negative 33 and negative 66, and then 33 and 66 out there. I thought those were just a little bit high. Went a little more conservative with those. But again, changes could be happening in the future here. Now, time for a contest before we go to the regional outlook, and then we get into the deep analysis here. Comment below how many inches of snow will Albany, New York receive between December 1st and March 1st. You'll be entered on the previous winter forecast. We had a contest in the previous winter forecast for a 12 by 18 inch signed metal print. So comment below and I'll give you an additional entry. And if you haven't commented yet, if you haven't entered yet, you'll be entered into this contest. And again, it's for this thing right here. It's an image I took out in northeast or southeast Nebraska. Beautiful lightning image, 4 minutes of lightning, a 12 by 18 inch signed metal print, nice shiny metal print for you. So I'll pick one winner, whoever's the closest. So with that said, let's get right into the regional forecast. It's pretty much just region by region here for the snowfall in particular, since that's what we're focusing on in this video. Northwestern United States, this is what it's looking like. This line out here is going to be 50% below average on average, and here's some of your cities. 25% in here. Again, it kind of is a gradient here. So 25% out here, 50% out there. So if you're like right over here, let's say you're kind of out in this area, it's going to be closer to 50. So kind of keep that in mind. They're kind of like gradients here. This area might be updated on the next winter forecast here. This is starting to trend a little bit more moist here in the west part of the of Washington. Average in this area right here looks to be the case. And you can see some areas in here in the mountainous region particularly get 100 plus inches. So it could be a decent below average ski season. So now we're going to go to the southwestern United States. and 50% below average out here, 25% out here, average to the northeast. Southern United States, pretty much average for most of this area. 25% below average out here. Now, the other thing to keep in mind here is these areas, especially in here, don't get snow every winter. Now, if you're in this area right here, where it's 25% below average, it also can indicate that you're less likely to get snow at all as well. So you can keep that in mind because these areas don't always get snow during the winter. So I'd say in general, it's less likely that you're going to get snow this winter if you're in that area of Texas and Arizona as well. So average everywhere else. Temperatures, again, probably average to slightly below average in this region. How about the northern United States? Well, this line right here passes right through Omaha, just north of Kansas City. Pierre, Bismarck, and east, it looking like you could get around 25% above average, few inches for most of these places above average, maybe a little bit more as you head towards the lakes. So that's looking to be the case. Now, why is that going to happen? We're going to have several potential clippers that move to the south here. So I think you're going to have several shots of cold air, particularly as you head towards the lakes in the Midwest region, and clippers as well, which could give you probably average precipitation, maybe slightly below even in some areas. But because of that cold air, that's going to make most of the precipitation snow for this area, which will put the snowfall above average, potentially, just a little bit above average. Southern United States or southeast, mostly average for this area. As you head towards the Carolinas, you could be dealing with above average precipitation, where clippers and potential storms from the southeast kind of merge in that area. That's looking to be a decent probability this winter. So 25 to 50% above average in that area. Everywhere else, pretty much average precipitation. I think where you get your coldest weather is the most likely area of snowfall, and I think that's going to be kind of northeast of maybe Louisiana. Everywhere else, I think the snowfall chances are kind of lower than usual. And then the Northeast. The Northeast looks to be the prime area, particularly northeast, or the interior Northeast, towards the lakes here, maybe extending out to the Ohio Valley region. But this is your bullseye right here, I think, for winter. It might extend just a little bit farther east and west here on the southern end in the mid-Atlantic region. As you go northeast, I think it's going to be a little bit more interior northeast for the snowfall here, but 50% above average in this region, 25% above average in the Midwest and Ohio Valley for the most part, except for the east part. So I think the mountains, the Appalachians, are going to get pegged this year with lots of snow. Out to Buffalo, maybe this out to Detroit, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Charleston. It looks to be a good area for snow this winter. So because you're going to have clippers that move through this region, you're also going to have some decent Gulf lows that move up potentially. Not as strong as an El Nino. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get that subtropical jet that delivers things farther southeast this year. So I think most of the stuff that's going to happen is going to be farther northeast, and a lot of clipper activity and storm systems that kind of form out here and then move northeast and merge with these clippers. And that's going to give you a good chance potentially at a couple of blizzards here farther inland in the northeastern United States. So that's kind of what the snowfall is looking like this winter. Now, how about the pattern? And we'll look at the storm tracks as well. So is this winter going to be an El Nino, La Nina, or neutral? Well, this is the current sea surface temperature anomalies. And if you look at this area right here, it is a little bit cooler than average. It's starting to cool a little bit. Out here, it's warm. And out in Greenland, it's also warm. So this is something we got to watch here. You're going to get kind of a jet stream that kind of dips up north. And what that's going to do, that ridge, there's a lot of cold air up here. That's going to kind of get pinched and move to the east. There's also going to be some ridging out here potentially with the negative NAO. You're going to get the jet stream to kind of move south and move north, but this ridge out here is going to pinch it to the north, and you could have a pretty strong trough out here in the east half of the United States with potentially powerful storm systems moving up the east coast. I'd say that's more like this. And with the cold air up here, you could get some clippers that move down the northern part of the United States as well. And so that's why I kept this area above average. So that's what the current pattern's looking like. We'll zoom in. Cool temperatures right here. It says September 2019 out here in the Pacific Ocean, and that's indicative of a potential neutral or even La Nina. Here is the current ENSO. Anything below 0.5, actually that's down there, is a La Nina, especially if it lasts for 3 months or more. Anything above is an El Nino. So we're clearly on the cool end. In between is going to be a neutral. Right now, for the most part, it's a neutral, but it has dipped below that just a little bit. Not long enough to classify it as a La Nina, but this is cooler than what the models have been showing for a few weeks now at least. So it's definitely something to watch. Most of the models, if you look at the models here, this is the model plumes. Several different models forecast the sea surface temperatures. You can see the average through, where is it, December, January, February. Look at that. It is about 0.4, 0.35 or so above average. So it's actually forecasting a neutral winter, but a warmer end neutral winter. Now, where are we right now? We're at August, September, October. We're late September or something like this. And you can see that the models had it at 0.3, 0.35, but in actual data, it's actually the opposite. It's negative 0.35. So it's actually been trending much cooler. So it makes me wonder if this model right here is going to be the correct one, the outlier, believe it or not, because the outlier was correct up to this point so far. I do think it's going to plateau and flatline and maybe even move a little bit warmer again. But for the most part, this model doesn't look too bad. I don't think it's going to be a La Nina by that much. That's a moderate La Nina right there. But I do think that you're going to have a cool end neutral winter somewhere kind of in the 0 to 0.35 below average range. So it's kind of a cooler neutral winter. So what does a neutral pattern look like? Well, we kind of went over it. You got a nice polar jet stream out here. Probably going to be some ridging out here. Some polar air masses that build up there, slam down into the northeastern United States. This could be a little bit more of a La Nina look, hybrid kind of thing, ordeal. But for the most part, this map does this pattern justice. You're also going to have a negative NAO probably a lot this winter if the trends continue. And that could really amplify the cold in the northern eastern half of the United States. So this could be extended a little bit farther south and a little bit more aggressive. Wet conditions in the southeast, that might be a little bit farther to the northeast. And then warm conditions as well. I think the warm conditions with the current sea surface look, you're going to be a little bit more to the west, particularly southwestern United States. And maybe a little bit cooler over here, average to cool. But that's what a general pattern looks like. And when you can get, sometimes a subtropical jet will connect up with this jet stream right here. Not as much during a neutral winter as you saw during an El Nino. But if you can get a nice clipper system to move down, some decent moisture and a nice low pressure system to set up right there, you can get a nice nor'easter in the northeastern United States. This Pacific jet stream will be interesting to watch, and we're going to have to watch the northwestern United States. If that ridge is a little bit farther south than expected, we could be dealing with average precipitation instead of below average precipitation for Washington. So that's what the current pattern looks like. Now, how about what's a neutral winter look like? January through March temperature anomalies. I kind of went over it in my forecast, but you can see here, decently below average for much of the United States. 0.5 to 1 degree below average, and in this region 2, maybe even more than that, below average in the north central United States. Precipitation, there's a little bit of an indication that there could be above average precipitation in the Tennessee Valley, and then below average in the west part of the United States. But again, the neutral ENSO isn't the only factor. There's some other factors involved, like we said on that map there. The NAO has been negative for quite a while now. and that trend has been continuing. So if that continues into winter, the odds of cold eastern United States are going to be increasing, as this is a typical pattern with an NAO, negative NAO. There's a lot of blocking out here near Greenland warm, and you're going to get a jet stream that kind of moves to the south and maybe sometimes bends up to the northeast a little bit. But this is going to bring cold temperatures for much of the east half of the United States and potentially above average snowfall as well. So that's the typical temperatures. Very possible as well. And then we also have a positive PDO, which can give warm temperatures out east or out west and cool temperatures out east. That's another factor that I'm watching as well. And the latest models have actually shown that look too. The Jamstech has showed a cold eastern half of the United States and a warm western half of the United States as well. The CFS is a blowtorch everywhere. The CFS is a rather shaky model though. So the Jamstech does pretty well. It does flip around a lot, but it is kind of agreeing with a lot of the stuff that we mentioned here. So with that said, that is my winter forecast second update right now. We're probably going to be releasing another winter forecast next week, a full winter forecast where I go into much more detail, talk about the PDO and some more storm tracks and stuff like that. So if you like videos like this, subscribe, hit that subscribe button. We're going to be releasing weekly or bi-weekly updates on these winter forecasts because they are always changing. They're always changing. These are long-range forecasts. This does take a lot of updating and stuff like that as we head towards winter. Hit the like button if you like this video. Check out this video. I don't know what I'll post up here. I'll just post something up there. Check it out. And again, enter that contest. How many inches of snow will Albany, New York receive between December 1st and March 1st? Again, winner will get a 12 by 18 inch signed metal print of that, the closest winner. They'll be entered in the initial contest of the previous winter forecast video. And if you've already entered that one, you can get a double entry into that one. So hoping everyone enjoys and hope everyone gets what they want during the winter here. And subscribe if you like more of these videos, and we'll see you soon.